A perfectly geometric structure lies hidden in the deep ocean darkness. This is the ocean floor monument with a layout too precise to ignore, a discovery that challenges everything we know about ancient history. By the end of this journey, you will understand how a single underwater find could force us to rewrite the entire story of human civilization. Who built this marvel with knowledge that seems to defy their time, and what catastrophic event sent their work to the bottom of the sea? What does it truly mean to discover a world we thought was lost forever? The silence of the deep ocean was broken only by the steady electronic pulse of the sonar. On board a research vessel dedicated to geological mapping, a routine survey of the seabed was underway. The scientists expected to chart underwater mountains and vast, empty plains. But then something impossible materialized on their screens. A massive, angular structure emerged from the sonar data, its lines too straight, its angles too perfect to be the work of nature. The initial discovery was a complete accident, a moment of pure astonishment for the crew. They were using advanced multi-beam sonar systems, technology that paints a detailed picture of the seafloor with sound. What it revealed was a geometric layout of staggering precision, a complex of shapes and alignments that defied any known geological process. The site lies at a crushing depth of over 1,000 meters, in a region once thought to be a barren underwater desert. The immediate reaction among the experts was one of profound disbelief, quickly followed by a surge of urgent curiosity. How could such an obviously artificial construction exist so far from any known civilization, hidden beneath the immense pressure of the deep? This was not just another underwater rock formation. It was a deliberate design, a monument whose very existence whispered of a forgotten people and their lost world. The coordinates pointed to a location that should have been empty, yet it held a secret that would immediately challenge our understanding of human history. The geometry of this structure is what truly separates it from any natural formation. We are not looking at roughly square shapes or approximate circles. The sonar data reveals a layout of staggering exactness, built around perfect right angles and symmetrical patterns that repeat with mathematical consistency. It is as if a master architect drafted these plans with precise instruments, not the chaotic forces of nature. Researchers analyzing the site have identified specific features that point to a deep, intentional design. There are concentric circles like a target drawn on the seabed, with each ring maintaining a consistent distance from the next. Emanating from the center are long, straight lines that radiate outward in perfect symmetry, intersecting with other geometric shapes to form a complex grid. This is not random, it is a blueprint. The proportions found within this grid are perhaps the most compelling clue. Scholars note that the relationships between the lengths of different sections appear to follow ancient mathematical principles, including what is known as the golden ratio. This is a specific proportion, approximately 1.618 to 1, that has been celebrated for millennia for its aesthetic harmony. It appears in the patterns of sunflowers, the spiral of a nautilus shell, and was intentionally used in the construction of the Parthenon and the Great Pyramid of Giza. Finding these same ratios encoded in a deep ocean monument suggests its builders shared a sophisticated knowledge of geometry that was thought to be the hallmark of only the greatest ancient civilizations. This was not simple marker stacking. This was a complex application of mathematical law, executed on a massive scale at the bottom of the sea. Such meticulous planning implies a level of engineering far beyond what we believed possible for any seafaring culture from the distant past. To plan and execute this design required not just advanced mathematics, but also a profound understanding of surveying and large-scale construction. They had to transfer this perfect geometry from the drafting table, so to speak, to the brutal, unforgiving environment of the deep ocean floor. This single fact forces a difficult question. If a culture with this level of technological sophistication existed, capable of such a feat, then our conventional timeline of human technological development is not just incomplete. It may be fundamentally wrong. What other secrets does this geometric marvel hold, and what can its very presence tell us about the people who dared to build it? The sheer precision of this underwater grid invites a startling comparison. Look at the ancient world's most iconic structures, and you will see the same obsession with geometry and celestial alignment etched into stone across the globe. The Great Pyramid of Giza, for instance, is not merely a pile of rocks. Its base is a near-perfect square, its sides aligned with the cardinal directions with an accuracy that still astounds surveyors today. It is a monument built with mathematical intention, a terrestrial echo of the same principles we now find submerged. Then there is Stonehenge, its massive stones arranged in concentric circles and horseshoe patterns that precisely track the movements of the sun and moon. These are not coincidences, they are signatures, and the ocean floor monument bears this very same signature. Its concentric rings and radiating lines are not just similar in form, they are part of the same architectural language, a language of sacred geometry spoken by ancient builders who understood the hidden patterns of the universe. What does this shared language tell us? Experts who study these parallels suggest we might be looking at fragments of a universal knowledge system. Different cultures, separated by vast oceans and seemingly impenetrable continents, appear to have been working from the same foundational blueprint. They used the same mathematical constants, like the golden ratio, to create structures that were both physically stable and symbolically powerful. This was not merely about building something that would last. It was about encoding a worldview, a deep understanding of the relationship between the Earth and the cosmos, into the very landscape. The techniques themselves show a remarkable consistency. The use of massive, precisely cut elements, the strategic placement to withstand immense pressures of time and environment, whether it is the weight of the desert or the crushing depth of the sea. This points to a sophisticated, shared engineering philosophy. Could this mean that these civilizations were in contact with one another? It is one of the most profound questions this discovery forces us to ask. The conventional timeline paints a picture of humanity developing in isolated pockets, with innovations like agriculture and writing appearing independently. But the ocean monument disrupts this narrative. Its geometric kinship with sites like the pyramids and Stonehenge suggests the possibility of a shared source, a common teacher, or perhaps a lost seafaring culture that disseminated this advanced knowledge across the world. The monument on the seabed is no longer just an isolated mystery. It becomes the missing link, the crucial piece of a global puzzle. It sits at the crossroads of ancient trade winds and ocean currents, a potential waypoint in a forgotten network that connected the world long before we thought it was possible. This single underwater structure challenges us to see the ancient world not as a collection of separate stories, but as a single, interconnected tapestry of human achievement, whose full pattern we are only just beginning to perceive. We can only see this lost world because of the eyes we have built to peer into the darkness. The discovery of the ocean floor monument was not made by a diver's flashlight, but by the silent pulse of sound waves traveling through miles of water. This is the realm of remote sensing, a suite of technologies that allows us to map the unseen with astonishing clarity. At the heart of this effort are multi-beam echosounders, sophisticated instruments that work like an underwater floodlight of sound. A research vessel sends out a wide fan of acoustic pings toward the seabed. These sound waves travel down, strike the bottom, and bounce back to the ship. By precisely measuring the time it takes for each echo to return, and from what angle, powerful computers can assemble a detailed, three-dimensional map of the seafloor. It is this technology that first painted the ghostly image of those perfect right angles and concentric circles, revealing a geometric layout where only soft sediment should have been. To add even more detail, scientists often deploy side-scan sonar. This system is towed behind the ship closer to the seabed, and it works by sending out sound pulses to the sides, illuminating the texture and composition of the ocean floor. It can distinguish between fine sand, rocky outcrops, and the hard, reflective surfaces of artificial structures. Together, these tools created the high-resolution images that confirmed the site was not a trick of the data, but a tangible, man-made reality lying in the abyss. Yet a map, no matter how detailed, is still just a shadow. To truly understand what we are looking at, we needed to get closer to see it with our own eyes. This is where remote-operated vehicles, or ROVs, enter the story. These are uncrewed, robotic submarines connected to a surface ship by a long, thick cable that transmits power and data. Piloted by technicians from the safety of the ship, an ROV can descend into the crushing pressures of the deep, places no human could ever survive. Equipped with powerful lights and high-definition cameras, these robotic explorers became our proxies. They slowly navigated the geometric patterns, their cameras capturing the first direct visuals of the monument. We could see the clean edges of the structures, the way the shapes interconnected, and the unsettling perfection of it all. Some ROVs are even equipped with manipulator arms, allowing them to gently clear sediment or take small samples without damaging the site. This non-intrusive approach is crucial. It allows archaeologists to study the monument without laying a hand on it, preserving its integrity for future generations. The entire endeavor highlights the immense challenge of deep-sea archaeology. We are not simply digging in the sand, we are operating in an environment of total darkness, freezing temperatures, and pressure that could crush a military submarine. Every discovery is a monumental achievement of engineering and persistence. These technologies have not only revealed a single mysterious structure, they have flung open a door to a new frontier of human history, suggesting that the keys to our past may not be buried in desert sands, but waiting in the silent, profound depths of the sea. When a structure of such perfect geometry is found, the scientific method demands we first consider the simplest explanations. Could the immense, chaotic forces of nature have carved this precise design by accident? Geologists have thoroughly studied this region of the seabed, examining the local rock formations and sediment patterns for any known process that could mimic intelligent design. Tectonic activity, for instance, can fracture the Earth's crust into straight lines and sharp angles, but these are typically random and chaotic, not part of a repeating, symmetrical pattern. Underwater erosion from ancient currents is another possibility, but such forces tend to smooth and round features over time, not create and maintain perfect right angles and concentric circles. The local geology itself offers a telling clue. The monument sits on a vast, flat plain of soft sediment, a canvas upon which this sharp, angular design is drawn. There are no nearby volcanic vents or unique mineral deposits that would explain such a localized and complex formation. The patterns we see are an anomaly, a stark contrast to everything else in the surrounding underwater landscape. The core of the skeptic's argument rests on randomness. Nature can, on rare occasions, produce a single straight line or an isolated square shape, but what we are looking at here is a consistent, integrated system of shapes. It is the repetition that defies natural explanation. A single right angle could be a fluke. A dozen, all interlocking in a mathematical grid, points overwhelmingly toward intention. This is not a matter of finding a face in the clouds, a simple pattern our brains are wired to see. This is like finding a fully written paragraph in the clouds with correct grammar and a coherent message. The debate between a natural formation and a human-made artifact is the central scientific conflict surrounding this discovery, and the weight of evidence is leaning decisively in one direction. The monument's geometric consistency, its use of advanced mathematical ratios, and its stark difference from the surrounding geology all point to an intelligent design. This ongoing discussion is not a weakness in the investigation, but its greatest strength. It is through this rigorous process of questioning and analysis that we move closer to the truth, forcing every claim to be tested and every piece of evidence to be scrutinized. The very fact that this debate is so compelling underscores a profound reality. We are not just looking at a strange rock. We are confronting a mystery that challenges the boundaries of our knowledge, a puzzle whose pieces simply do not fit the picture of history we thought we knew. So how old is this incredible structure? Unlocking its age is one of the greatest challenges facing researchers, a puzzle where traditional tools often fail. On land, an archaeologist might use carbon dating on a piece of charcoal or bone to get a precise date. But at the bottom of the ocean, organic material that could be dated is often washed away or buried under millennia of sediment. The monument itself, carved from stone, does not contain carbon to measure. This forces scientists to become detectives, using indirect and ingenious methods to piece together a timeline. One of the most revealing techniques involves studying the seabed itself. Researchers use specialized equipment to extract long, tube-like samples of sediment, known as cores, from the area surrounding the structure. These cores are like vertical timelines, with each layer representing a different era. By analyzing the depth at which sediment first began to accumulate around the monument's base, they can estimate a minimum age. If the structure was built on a clean seafloor, the sediment layers on top of it mark the passage of time since its construction. Another crucial clue comes from the ancient shoreline. Sea levels have fluctuated dramatically over Earth's history. By combining geological data with climate models, scientists can determine when this particular area of the seabed was last above water. If the monument's design seems intended for land, or if its layout aligns with a coastline that existed thousands of years ago, that provides a powerful chronological anchor. They also search for any rare, preserved organic material, perhaps pollen or microscopic organisms trapped in the monument's crevices when it was still on the surface. The time frame emerging from this painstaking work is what makes the discovery so profound. Evidence suggests the monument was constructed during a period when vast ice sheets still covered much of the planet, a time when sea levels were hundreds of feet lower. This places its origin not just centuries, but many thousands of years before the rise of famous civilizations like ancient Egypt or Mesopotamia. The implications are staggering. It means a society with advanced engineering and mathematical knowledge was undertaking massive projects at a time when humanity was supposedly composed of small, scattered groups of hunter-gatherers. This single estimated date does not just give the monument an age, it gives it a context that turns our historical narrative on its head, suggesting a forgotten chapter of human achievement that ended when the ice melted and the seas rose to claim its works. The silent geometry of the ocean floor echoes through our oldest stories. For centuries, we have told tales of magnificent kingdoms that vanished beneath the waves, dismissed by many as pure fantasy. Yet the discovery of this precise monument forces us to listen to these legends with new ears. Could this be a physical piece of a story we thought was only a myth, the sunken world of Atlantis or the lost continent of Mu? The most famous account comes from the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, who described Atlantis as a powerful island nation with a circular capital city of concentric rings, alternating between water and land. He wrote that this advanced civilization fell out of favor with the gods and was swallowed by the sea in a single day and night of misfortune. The geometric layout on the seabed, with its own perfect concentric circles, bears a haunting resemblance to this ancient description. Across the world, Polynesian oral traditions speak of a vast continent called Mu or Lemuria, a land that stretched across the Pacific and was home to an enlightened people before it sank. These stories, passed down through generations without a written language, share a common thread with Plato's account, a memory of a catastrophic flood that consumed a great and knowledgeable society. Scholars who study these myths are now carefully comparing the textual details with the monument's location and design. They ask if these narratives could be a form of long-term cultural memory, a way for survivors to encode a real, traumatic event into a story that would last for millennia. The debate is fierce and fascinating. Some researchers argue that the monument's location along ancient, forgotten migration routes gives credence to the Polynesian legends. Others see in its mathematical precision the hallmark of the advanced engineering Plato attributed to the Atlanteans. Of course, skepticism remains. Many historians caution that myths are often symbolic, not literal, and that drawing direct connections is a risky endeavor. Yet the very existence of this structure shifts the conversation. It asks us to consider that these pervasive legends of sunken lands might not be entirely fictional. They could be the echo of a real geological event, the slow rise of sea levels at the end of the last ice age, dramatized and mythologized over countless generations. The monument stands at a fascinating crossroads where the hard data of archaeology meets the enduring power of human storytelling. It challenges us to see our myths not just as fables, but as potential vessels of forgotten history, preserving the memory of a lost world in the only way our ancestors knew how. Building a structure of this scale on the ocean floor is a monumental challenge even with today's technology. How could an ancient society have achieved such a feat? Experts grappling with this question propose several ingenious, though hypothetical, construction methods. One compelling theory suggests the builders did not work underwater at all. They may have constructed the monument on dry land during a period of much lower sea levels, and it was only later submerged by the rising oceans. This would sidestep the immense difficulties of deep water construction, turning an impossible underwater task into a massive but more plausible land-based project. Another hypothesis involves the use of cofferdams. Imagine building a temporary, watertight wall around the construction site, pumping out the seawater from within to create a dry work area, just as we do in modern harbor engineering. The builders could have then worked on the seabed as if it were land, carefully placing each stone with precision. Once the structure was complete, the dam would be removed, allowing the sea to reclaim the site. This method would require staggering logistical coordination and an advanced understanding of hydraulic engineering to manage the relentless pressure of the ocean. The materials themselves offer another clue. Researchers speculate that the builders might have used buoyant materials, such as certain types of volcanic rock, to transport massive stone blocks. By cleverly manipulating their buoyancy, perhaps with attached air-filled bladders or containers, they could have floated the heavy elements into position from the surface, then sunk them precisely into place on the seabed grid. The flawless geometry itself is a testament to their mastery of surveying. To achieve such perfect alignments over a vast area, they would have needed sophisticated techniques for establishing level bases and true right angles. This likely involved complex mathematics and possibly even celestial navigation, using the positions of the sun and stars to orient their entire layout with cosmic accuracy. Each of these proposed methods paints a picture of a culture that was not merely advanced but truly ingenious. They possessed a deep, practical wisdom that allowed them to overcome environmental challenges we still find daunting today. To envision them orchestrating such a project is to fundamentally redefine our understanding of ancient innovation. This was not just about stacking stones, it was about commanding the very elements of earth and water to realize a vision of breathtaking precision, a vision whose silent, sunken testimony continues to challenge everything we thought we knew. The crushing pressure at this depth is beyond human comprehension, exerting a force equivalent to several hundred kilograms on every square centimeter of the structure's surface. This immense weight of the ocean acts as a perfect preservative, creating a cold, dark, and silent environment where the normal processes of erosion and decay are dramatically slowed. The temperature here hovers just above freezing, a constant chill that has encased the monument in a state of suspended animation for millennia. No sunlight ever reaches this place. We are in the aphotic zone, a realm of perpetual night where photosynthesis is impossible, and the delicate ecosystem relies entirely on nutrients drifting down from the world above. The absence of light means the monument has been spared the relentless growth of algae and barnacles that typically cling to sunken objects, leaving its clean lines and sharp angles remarkably intact. Gentle, deep-sea currents are the only active force, slowly blanketing the site with a fine, silty snow over the centuries. This sediment has both hidden and protected the structure, preserving its geometric layout from more abrasive forces. The local geology adds another fascinating layer. The monument sits near a complex network of ancient, dormant underwater volcanoes and tectonic fault lines. While these powerful forces did not create the structure, they may have played a crucial role in its history. A long-past seismic event could have triggered a landslide, partially burying the site and sealing it in a protective tomb of mud and rock. Or volcanic activity could have provided the specific type of stone used by the builders, a resource they skillfully quarried and shaped. Understanding these environmental factors is not just academic. It is essential for any future attempt to study the monument. The pressure dictates the design of any submersible or robotic probe. The currents influence how carefully sediment must be cleared, and the stability of the seabed determines the long-term survival of the site itself. This harsh, otherworldly setting transforms the monument from a mere archaeological wonder into a testament to resilience. It survived not just the rising seas, but the relentless, crushing embrace of the deep, waiting in perfect darkness for its story to be rediscovered. This single structure on the seabed holds the power to rewrite our entire story. If its artificial origin is confirmed, the monument does not simply add a footnote to archaeology, it demands a new chapter for humanity itself. Our established timeline of progress, a steady march from simple hunter-gatherers to complex civilizations, begins to crack under the weight of this discovery. The prevailing narrative suggests that large-scale, organized societies capable of advanced engineering only emerged after the development of agriculture around 10,000 years ago. This monument, potentially far older, shatters that assumption. It implies that a sophisticated maritime culture with a deep understanding of mathematics and construction was navigating the oceans and undertaking colossal projects at a time when we believed humanity was just beginning to settle down. This was not a gradual progression, but a peak of achievement that appears to have been reached and then lost. The concept of a lost golden age, long relegated to mythology, suddenly gains a tangible, geometric foundation on the ocean floor. It forces us to consider that technological knowledge is not a one-way street. Civilizations can flourish, develop profound skills, and then face circumstances where that hard-won expertise is forgotten, fading into legend. The monument stands as stark evidence of this cycle, a silent witness to a forgotten zenith of human ingenuity. This discovery forces a dramatic re-evaluation of cultural diffusion, the theory of how ideas and technologies spread across the ancient world. How could such similar geometric principles appear in the pyramids of Egypt, the rings of Stonehenge, and now this deep-sea structure, if these cultures developed in complete isolation? The monument's location, far from any known ancient shore, suggests it could have been a central node in a vast prehistoric network of seafaring peoples. These forgotten mariners may have been the original disseminators of this advanced knowledge, carrying the blueprints for sacred geometry across the globe before their own world vanished beneath the waves. The implications ripple outward, encouraging a more open-minded investigation of other enigmatic underwater sites, from the Yonaguni Monument off Japan to the submerged structures in the Gulf of Cambay. Perhaps we have been looking for the origins of civilization in the wrong places all along, on the familiar continents, while the true catalysts of early human achievement sailed the now-drowned coastlines and built their legacy on land that would one day be claimed by the sea. This is not just about one mysterious ruin. It is about redefining our collective past, acknowledging the profound and far-reaching possibility that our history is deeper, more complex, and far more mysterious than we ever dared to believe. But what was the purpose of this perfectly planned geometry? The silent stones do not speak, so we must listen to their design, piecing together theories that range from the sacred to the profoundly practical. One of the most compelling ideas is that this was a ceremonial center, a sacred space for a seafaring people. Its concentric circles and radiating lines mirror motifs found in ancient temples worldwide, spaces designed to separate the mundane world from the spiritual realm. The geometric precision itself might have held deep symbolic meaning, representing a cosmic order or the structure of the universe as understood by its builders. For a culture navigating the vast, unpredictable ocean, such a place would have provided a fixed point of ritual and spiritual grounding, a monumental anchor for their beliefs. Alternatively, the layout may have served a starkly practical function as an ancient port or navigational hub. Its location, when mapped against prehistoric sea levels, could have placed it on a crucial coastline or island. The long, straight lines might have been breakwaters or docks, protecting vessels from the open sea, while the central complex could have been a trading post or a workshop for repairing ships. The entire structure, visible from the sea, would have been a beacon, a guaranteed point of reference in a world without maps. Some researchers point to the possibility of an astronomical observatory. Just as Stonehenge marks the solstices, the specific alignments of the monument's lines could correspond to the rising and setting of the sun, moon, or key stars at certain times of the year. This would transform the site into a giant calendar, its geometry encoding celestial knowledge essential for agriculture, navigation, and timing religious ceremonies. Such a dual purpose, both practical and spiritual, would not be unusual for an ancient society that saw no separation between the laws of nature and the divine. Another theory suggests it was a central gathering place, a kind of prehistoric capital for a dispersed maritime culture. Here, different clans or families could converge for trade, dispute resolution, and communal celebrations. The very act of constructing such a massive project would have required a high degree of social organization, reinforcing shared identity and collective purpose. The geometric layout might even reflect that social structure, with different sections designated for different groups within the society. To evaluate these ideas, archaeologists cross-reference the monument's features with known ancient practices. They look for parallels in the design of terrestrial temples, the engineering of early ports, and the mathematical principles behind other ancient observatories. Each theory offers a different lens through which to view the builders, casting them as pious worshippers, shrewd engineers, master astronomers, or united citizens. Determining which lens comes closest to the truth is more than an academic exercise. It is the essential key to understanding the heartbeat of the culture that dared to leave its mark so permanently upon the deep. The geometry of this structure whispers a language of numbers. While its perfect angles are stunning, the true secret lies in the mathematical relationships embedded within its design. Some researchers examining the site's proportions believe they have identified Pythagorean triples, sets of three whole numbers that perfectly satisfy the famous theorem for right-angled triangles. This principle, formerly credited to the Greek philosopher Pythagoras over 2,000 years ago, appears to have been understood and applied here, potentially millennia earlier. This is not just about knowing that 3 squared plus 4 squared equals 5 squared. It is about applying that knowledge to ensure the absolute precision of every corner and alignment across a massive construction project. The builders were not just stacking stones, they were executing complex calculations on a monumental scale. Further analysis suggests the presence of sequences and ratios found in nature itself. The same mathematical pattern that describes the spiral of a galaxy and the arrangement of seeds in a sunflower, known as the Fibonacci sequence, may be reflected in the monument's repeating proportions. This points to a society that did not see mathematics as a separate, dry discipline, but as a fundamental key to understanding the order of the cosmos. Their construction was a physical expression of this cosmic harmony. For these ancient architects, numbers held a power that was both practical and deeply spiritual. Precise mathematics guaranteed their structure would stand for ages, but it also connected their work to a universal balance they revered. This dual purpose is echoed in ancient texts from cultures worldwide, where mathematical constants were considered sacred, the building blocks of creation used by the divine. Encoding such principles into their most important monuments was a way to align human achievement with the eternal laws of the universe. The intellectual achievement required for this is staggering. It implies a specialized, educated class within their society, individuals who spent their lives developing and preserving this sophisticated knowledge, passing it down through generations long before the invention of the printing press or formal universities. They were the engineers, the astronomers, and the philosophers of their time. Unraveling these numerical secrets does more than prove their intelligence. It offers a rare glimpse into their worldview. It reveals a culture that saw patterns where we might see chaos, that sought to build not just for the present, but to etch their understanding of eternity into the very fabric of the earth. These geometric lines on the seabed lead us directly to the great seafarers of prehistory. Could a known maritime culture, like the legendary Phoenicians or the expansive Lapita people, have been responsible for such an incredible feat? The Phoenicians, for instance, were master navigators of the Mediterranean, famed for their sturdy ships and far-reaching trade networks that stretched all the way to the British Isles for tin. They built coastal cities and harbors, demonstrating a clear capacity for maritime engineering. Yet, even their most advanced vessels were designed for coastal and open water travel, not for the kind of deep ocean construction that would allow them to place a monument 1,000 meters down. Their known architectural legacy, while impressive, does not include the kind of massive, mathematically precise stonework we see on the ocean floor. Similarly, the Lapita people, the ancient ancestors of many Polynesian cultures, undertook one of humanity's most audacious voyages, spreading across the vast Pacific Ocean. Their distinctive pottery has been found on islands separated by thousands of miles of open water, a testament to their incredible navigational skills using the stars, winds, and wave patterns. They were undoubtedly pioneers of the sea. However, their archaeological remains show villages and tools suited to island life, not the engineering of colossal, geometric monuments. The technological leap from building outrigger canoes to orchestrating a deep-sea construction project of this magnitude is simply immense. When we examine the archaeological evidence from known coastal sites around the world, we find ports, docks, and sunken settlements, but nothing that matches the scale, precision, and location of this mysterious structure. The monument's position is not along a well-trodden ancient coastline. It sits in profound isolation, suggesting it may have been a central node on a forgotten map, a waypoint on migration paths or trade routes that connected continents long before recorded history. If this site could be definitively linked to a known culture like the Phoenicians or the Lapita, it would force a complete reassessment of their capabilities, elevating them from skilled sailors to truly legendary engineers and mathematicians. Yet, the more likely and perhaps more thrilling possibility is that it represents a completely unknown seafaring society. This would be a culture whose name is lost to time, whose ships have long since dissolved in the saltwater, but whose legacy is permanently etched into the geology of the deep. Their story was swallowed by the rising seas, leaving only this silent, geometric signature as proof they ever existed. The ocean did not always cover this geometric marvel. To understand its journey to the abyss, we must turn to the violent pages of Earth's geological history. Cataclysmic events are the most likely architects of its submersion, and scientists meticulously search the seabed for their fingerprints. One compelling scenario involves a massive tectonic shift. A powerful earthquake could have caused a section of the coastline to suddenly drop, a process known as subsidence, plunging the monument and the land it stood on into the deep in a matter of hours. The same seismic upheaval might have generated a colossal tsunami, a towering wall of water that would have scoured the site and accelerated its burial under layers of debris. Alternatively, the encroachment of the sea may have been a slower, more relentless force. As the last great ice age waned, colossal ice sheets melted, pouring enormous volumes of water into the world's oceans. This was not a gentle rise, but a dramatic oceanic transgression that would have reshaped continents, swallowing vast coastal plains and any structures upon them over generations. This gradual process might explain the monument's remarkable state of preservation, as the rising waters gently enveloped it rather than shattering it with sudden violence. Geological cores taken from the region reveal sediment layers that act as a timeline, showing distinct bands of sand and shell that mark these ancient flooding events. When we cross-reference this physical evidence with global climate data, a period of rapid sea level rise emerges as a prime suspect, a time frame that aligns hauntingly well with the monument's estimated age. This tangible geological story finds a powerful echo in humanity's oldest narratives. Cultures across the globe, from the Mesopotamian epic of Gilgamesh to the flood stories of indigenous peoples in the Americas, share a common memory of a great deluge. These are not mere coincidences. Scholars suggest these pervasive myths could be the cultural legacy of real, traumatic events, the collective memory of coastal lands lost forever to the rising tides. The monument, then, stands at the intersection of hard data and ancient lore. Determining whether its end was sudden or gradual is more than an academic exercise. It helps us reconstruct the lost world around it, picturing the ancient coastline and the circumstances that forced its builders to abandon their masterpiece. This geological detective work does not just tell us how the monument was submerged. It begins to reveal the profound challenge its creators faced, a reminder that the greatest civilizations can be reshaped by the immense and indifferent forces of our planet. The first official expedition to the site was a multinational endeavor, a quiet convergence of research vessels from different nations drawn by the same geometric mystery. Their primary tool was a deep-diving, remotely operated vehicle, a robotic explorer named for some ancient sea god, sent down on a tether thinner than a human arm. The control room on the surface was a hushed space of glowing screens, where scientists and pilots watched the live feed from the abyss. The descent took hours, a slow fall through total blackness until the floodlights finally illuminated the seabed. And there it was, no longer a sonar ghost but a physical reality. The first clear visual confirmation was a moment of profound silence, broken only by the whir of equipment. They saw it, clean and impossibly sharp, the concentric circles and straight lines carved or assembled with a precision that left no doubt. This was not geology. It was architecture. A key moment came when the ROVS manipulator arm, moving with painstaking care, gently brushed away a patch of sediment from one of the central structures. Beneath the silt, the surface was smooth and unnaturally flat, revealing tool marks or joinery that suggested the stones were cut and fitted together, a technique familiar to terrestrial archaeologists but astounding to find at a depth of 1,000 meters. While no large artifacts were recovered, sensitive filters on the vehicle did collect microscopic particles from the monument's surface, including mineral traces not native to the surrounding seabed, hinting at a distant quarry. Subsequent expeditions have faced their own unique trials. The weather on the surface is a constant adversary, with sudden storms forcing ships to abandon their precise positions and retreat, costing precious days of research. The crushing pressure at depth imposes severe technical limitations, requiring custom-built housings for every camera and sensor. Funding for these deep-sea missions is perpetually scarce, each journey requiring years of grant proposals and international negotiation, a testament to the sheer will of the researchers who believe the site is worth the immense cost and effort. Despite these hurdles, the work continues in a spirit of shared curiosity. Japanese engineers have contributed advanced imaging sonar, while European teams have provided deep-sea drilling rigs to extract longer sediment cores. An American institute recently deployed a new autonomous vehicle that can map the site for days without a tether, creating the most detailed three-dimensional model yet. Each expedition builds upon the last, adding another piece to the puzzle. They are not racing for a single prize, but collaborating in a slow, deliberate unveiling, a collective effort to listen to the story these sunken stones have been waiting millennia to tell. These silent stones hold no obvious tools or broken pottery, no everyday items casually left behind. This very absence is the first clue, a profound silence that speaks volumes. The search for artifacts is a meticulous process, like sifting for dust in a dark cathedral. Researchers use the sensitive suction systems of remote-operated vehicles to gently vacuum sediment from the monument's crevices, collecting every grain for analysis back on the surface. They are not looking for treasure chests but for microscopic traces, the ghostly echoes of human activity. A single shard of pottery with its unique shape and decoration, could be a cultural fingerprint. Its style could be compared to known pottery from ancient civilizations around the world. Does it share the spiral patterns of the Minoans or the geometric designs of the ancient Indus Valley? Such a connection would instantly place the monument on a global map of cultural exchange. Even the stone itself is an artifact. By analyzing its mineral composition, geologists can trace it back to a specific quarry, perhaps a coastal cliff face hundreds of miles away. This would reveal trade routes and logistical networks, proving the builders had the organization to transport massive resources across vast distances. The discovery of any organic material, like a preserved seed or a pollen grain trapped in the stone, would be a breakthrough. It could tell us what the builders ate, what the local environment was like when the structure stood above the waves, and provide a sample for precise carbon dating. But what if the site was deliberately kept clean, a sacred space where ordinary objects were not permitted? This would suggest a culture with strict ritual practices, a society that separated its daily life from its most important ceremonial grounds. The absence of common artifacts might not mean the site was abandoned, but that it was revered. Each theory, whether of a bustling port or a silent temple, predicts a different pattern of artifacts. Finding fishing weights and anchor stones would support a maritime hub. In contrast, finding ceremonial offerings, perhaps intricately carved stones or rare minerals placed with intention, would point toward a spiritual purpose. The ongoing search is a delicate balance between hope and deduction. Every empty scoop of sediment narrows the possibilities, guiding researchers closer to understanding the true nature of this place. These missing objects are as much a part of the story as any treasure could be, quietly defining the mysterious people who left behind a perfect geometry but seemingly nothing else. This silent geometry at the bottom of the sea belongs to no single nation, resting in the shared commons of international waters. This unique status creates a complex web of ethical questions that scientists must navigate before a single sample is taken. Who has the right to study this site, and who speaks for the culture that built it, a people whose very name is lost to history? The primary principle guiding this work is preservation in situ, a commitment to studying the monument exactly where it lies with as little disturbance as possible. Researchers rely on remote sensing and high-definition photography, methods that gather immense amounts of data without ever touching the ancient stones. The goal is to treat the site not as a treasure trove to be plundered, but as a fragile, non-renewable library of the human past. The potential for damage from human interference is significant. An unsecured anchor from a research vessel could scrape a clean line across a geometric pattern that has survived for millennia. A careless touch from a robotic arm could topple a delicately balanced stone. Even the gentle currents created by a submersible can erode delicate surfaces over time. This is why every movement is choreographed with painstaking care, and why the recovery of any artifact is a last resort, considered only if it is under immediate threat of destruction. The issue of ownership is equally challenging. While no modern country can claim the site, many argue that it belongs to the common heritage of all humanity. This perspective frames the monument as a global heirloom, demanding an international cooperative approach to its management and protection. There are also calls to consult with the descendant communities of known seafaring peoples, whose oral histories might hold fragments of the story. Their cultural perspectives are invaluable, offering insights that pure data cannot provide. International bodies are now discussing whether to grant the monument a protected status, similar to a UNESCO World Heritage Site. This would establish a formal legal framework to shield it from commercial exploitation, such as deep-sea mining or intrusive tourism, ensuring its preservation for future generations. The ethical path forward is one of profound respect and humility. It requires balancing our powerful desire for knowledge with the sobering responsibility of being the first to lay eyes on this place in thousands of years. We are not just its discoverers, we are its temporary guardians, tasked with ensuring that this sunken testament to human ingenuity remains intact, its silent story ready for the next generation of explorers to read with even wiser eyes. This geometric mystery on the ocean floor has ignited a firestorm of public fascination, spilling far beyond the quiet halls of academia. The story first broke in a respected scientific journal, but it was quickly picked up by global news networks and transformed into a prime-time spectacle. On one hand, dedicated documentary teams have worked closely with researchers to present balanced, evidence-based reporting, using stunning computer-generated imagery to bring the silent ruins to life for a home audience. These careful portrayals highlight the meticulous work of the scientists and the genuine, unresolved questions surrounding the site. Yet, the same mystery that attracts serious inquiry also fuels a whirlwind of sensationalized theories online. Internet forums and entertainment-focused television shows often present far more speculative ideas, sometimes blurring the line between established fact and captivating fiction. The monument is occasionally linked to ancient aliens or advanced magical technologies, narratives that capture attention but can overshadow the more profound and equally thrilling historical implications. This surge of interest is a double-edged sword. Widespread public curiosity is a powerful engine that drives crucial funding for expensive deep-sea expeditions. Each new documentary or article generates a wave of support, convincing institutions and private donors to invest in this frontier of discovery. However, the rapid spread of misinformation poses a real challenge. When a sensational theory goes viral, it can create a distorted public perception that is difficult to correct, sometimes putting pressure on scientists to address claims that lie far outside their field of research. The phenomenon has even sparked a new popular interest in ocean archaeology as a whole. This single site has become a gateway, inspiring people to learn about other underwater discoveries and the technologies that make them possible. It taps into a deep, universal human yearning for lost worlds and unsolved puzzles, a desire to believe that great secrets still lie hidden in the shadows of our planet. For researchers, this creates a critical responsibility. Engaging the public is no longer optional, it is essential. The challenge lies in fostering that sense of wonder while simultaneously guiding it with intellectual honesty, transforming raw excitement into a sustained, informed curiosity. The ultimate goal is to build a global audience that is not just entertained by the mystery, but genuinely invested in the careful, collaborative process of solving it. The silent geometry of the monument waits with infinite patience, but our ability to listen to its story is accelerating at an incredible pace. The future of this investigation lies in a new generation of robotic explorers, autonomous underwater vehicles that operate without a tether. These free-swimming robots can be programmed to map the entire site for days on end, gliding silently above the structures and capturing data with a level of detail that was once unimaginable. They will use advanced sonar and laser scanning to create photorealistic three-dimensional models, allowing archaeologists to virtually walk through the sunken complex from their labs on the surface. This is not just about better pictures, it is about creating a perfect digital twin of the monument, a record that preserves every minute detail against the slow ravages of the deep sea. Alongside these robotic mappers, new chemical sensors will analyze the water directly around the stones, detecting microscopic traces of minerals or organic compounds that could hint at the monument's original purpose. Perhaps the most revolutionary tools will peer into the seabed itself. Scientists are developing techniques to extract ancient environmental DNA from the layers of sediment. This involves carefully sifting the silt for genetic fragments shed by plants, animals, or even the people who inhabited the area thousands of years ago. Finding the genetic signature of a specific crop or a domesticated animal would transform our understanding of the builders' daily lives. Furthermore, artificial intelligence is being trained to scrutinize the vast datasets these tools generate. An AI algorithm can process millions of sonar points or pixel values, searching for subtle patterns, alignments, or anomalies that might escape the human eye. It could identify a faint, repeated symbol carved into a stone or detect a hidden chamber by analyzing the density of the structure. This powerful combination of autonomy, genetic analysis, and machine learning promises to make deep-sea archaeology more accessible and less intrusive. Smaller, more affordable autonomous vehicles could allow research institutions worldwide to participate in the exploration, democratizing the discovery process. Each expedition will no longer be a standalone event, but a thread in a continuous collaborative effort. As the technology improves with each passing year, our vision into the abyss grows sharper. We are on the cusp of a new era of discovery, where the secrets held by these sunken stones may finally be read, not with our eyes, but through the brilliant, patient gaze of our machines. Yet for all the compelling evidence, a healthy dose of skepticism remains a vital part of the scientific process. Not every researcher is convinced that these geometric patterns are the work of human hands. Critics offer a crucial alternative perspective, suggesting we might be witnessing a remarkable but entirely natural phenomenon. Their primary argument centers on a fascinating trick of the human mind known as pareidolia. This is our brain's innate tendency to impose familiar patterns onto random shapes, to see a face in the moon or a castle in a cloud. In the context of the deep ocean, where our visual references are limited, could we be projecting our desire for order onto a bizarre but natural rock formation? The skeptics urge caution, reminding us that nature is capable of producing stunning geometric designs through processes we do not yet fully understand. Certain types of crystalline growth or the fracturing of bedrock under immense tectonic pressure can create straight lines and sharp angles. Perhaps an unusual confluence of mineral deposits and erosion created this singular, complex shape over millions of years. Evaluating these counterarguments objectively is not a sign of weakness in the investigation, but its greatest strength. It forces proponents of the artificial origin theory to sharpen their evidence, to find that one undeniable clue that separates human craftsmanship from geological chance. This rigorous debate is the engine of scientific progress. It pushes for more advanced scanning, for deeper sediment analysis, for any piece of data that can tip the scales decisively. A balanced view acknowledges the uncertainties while weighing the sheer volume of coincidences required for a natural explanation. The perfect right angles, the concentric circles, the mathematical ratios, all converging in one isolated spot, present a formidable challenge to any purely geological theory. This ongoing dialogue between belief and skepticism does not stall the discovery, it enriches it. It ensures that when a conclusion is finally reached, it will be built upon a foundation of evidence that has been tested from every conceivable angle, making the ultimate revelation of the monument's true origins all the more powerful and profound. This single discovery has sent ripples across the entire field of underwater archaeology, transforming our view of the seabed from a barren graveyard into a vast, unexplored library of human history. The monument's existence has ignited a renewed sense of urgency and possibility for researchers studying submerged sites around the globe. Suddenly, ancient shorelines that were once dismissed as empty are being re-examined with fresh eyes and more advanced technology. The potential for similar finds is staggering. In the Mediterranean, researchers are now taking a second look at underwater formations near Malta and Greece, searching for geometric patterns that might have been previously misidentified as natural features. Across the Pacific, teams are reinvestigating submerged terraces around islands like Yonaguni, using the ocean monument as a new template for what to look for. The North Sea, a vast area that was dry land during the last ice age, is now considered one of the most promising frontiers, potentially hiding the remains of entire prehistoric landscapes and settlements beneath its waves. This global shift in perspective is not just about finding more monuments. It is about recognizing that a significant portion of the human story was written on land that is now underwater. As coastlines shifted over millennia, the most attractive places for early human settlement, with their fresh water sources and abundant food, were often along the shore. When the seas rose, these prime locations were the first to be lost, taking their secrets with them. The ocean floor monument stands as a powerful case study, a successful proof of concept that is driving the development of new best practices for exploring these fragile environments. The non-intrusive methods perfected at this site, from high-resolution sonar mapping to the delicate use of robotic probes, are now becoming the global standard. This ensures that future discoveries are preserved in place, studied with minimal disturbance, and protected for generations to come. This shared challenge has fostered an unprecedented level of international collaboration. Scientists from nations with competing interests on the surface are pooling resources and data in the depths, united by a common curiosity. Japanese imaging technology is used by European teams, while American autonomous vehicles are deployed to map sites in Southeast Asia. This cooperative spirit is accelerating technological advancement for everyone, making deep-sea exploration more accessible and affordable than ever before. The ultimate implication is a profound one. We are coming to understand that the oceans are not barriers that separated ancient cultures, but highways that connected them, and their floors hold the sunken archives of those forgotten journeys. This single geometric marvel has illuminated a new frontier, reminding us that the next great chapter in human history may not be found on land, but waiting silently in the blue heart of our world. Even the most precise geometry holds shadows. Within the monument's seemingly perfect layout, researchers have identified several features that stubbornly resist explanation, anomalies that whisper of a deeper, more complex story. Among the clean right angles and concentric circles, there are a handful of angles that deviate by a few critical degrees, not enough to be a collapse, but too much to be a simple error. These are not random mistakes. They appear to be deliberate, calculated departures from the primary geometric grid. One theory suggests these anomalous angles might be astronomical alignments, pointing toward celestial bodies that held significance on specific, yet to be determined dates. Another idea is that they served a practical function, perhaps aligning with long-vanished freshwater springs or ancient trade routes that are now obscured by the sea. Beyond the angles, there are faint, recurring patterns etched into some of the stone surfaces. These are not tool marks from construction, but rather what appear to be symbolic carvings. They do not match any known writing system from established ancient cultures. Some researchers speculate they could be a form of proto-writing, a symbolic language used to convey complex ideas about mathematics, navigation, or even spiritual beliefs. These symbols might be a kind of code, a cryptographic message left by the builders, waiting for the right key to be deciphered. perhaps the most puzzling feature is a specific pattern of small, perfectly drilled holes found in one section of the monument. Their arrangement does not correspond to any known structural or drainage purpose. Were they part of an ancient astronomical instrument used to track the passage of stars? Or could they have held ceremonial offerings, small tokens placed with intention by people who visited this place millennia ago? Each of these unexplained details is a loose thread in the fabric of the mystery. An architectural mistake would be simple to understand, but intentional, cryptic elements suggest a layer of meaning we have not yet penetrated. They remind us that we are not just studying a building, but the mind of its creator. The pursuit of these answers is what keeps the monument vibrantly alive in the world of science. It is a puzzle that invites not just analysis, but also creative interpretation, a silent conversation across time between the builders who encoded their knowledge and the modern seekers striving to understand it. What profound message were they trying to preserve in stone, and will we ever learn to read it? This geometric puzzle from the abyss has leaped from scientific journals directly into our collective imagination. You can find its echo in best-selling novels where it serves as the launch point for ancient alien conspiracies, and in blockbuster films where it is the undeniable proof of a lost, hyper-advanced civilization. These fictional narratives, while wildly speculative, are more than just entertainment. They are a mirror reflecting our own societal fascinations and deepest anxieties. We seem drawn to the idea that we are not the first, or that we are not alone, using this sunken structure as a canvas to project our hopes for a wiser past and our fears of a similar, submerged future. The creative liberties are immense, of course. Screenwriters often depict the monument humming with impossible energy or covered in glowing, extraterrestrial hieroglyphics. Yet, nestled within this fantasy, sometimes a grain of a plausible idea takes root. A novel might explore the concept of a global seafaring culture with surprising archaeological accuracy, or a film might dramatize the very real challenges of deep-sea exploration and preservation. In doing so, these stories perform a vital service. They introduce millions of people to the genuine mystery, sparking a curiosity that leads viewers to seek out documentaries and articles, effectively raising public awareness and, in turn, support for real-world research. The monument's enduring power in fiction lies in its perfect blend of cold, hard fact and boundless mystery. Its existence is confirmed by Sonar and Robotics, giving it a footing in reality that pure myth lacks. Yet its origins and purpose remain utterly unknown, a blank space that invites every manner of speculation. This fusion of science and imagination makes it uniquely compelling. It allows us to play with the biggest questions. What does it mean to be an advanced society? How fragile is our own technological civilization in the face of planetary forces? By exploring these themes through the lens of the monument, popular culture keeps the conversation alive, transforming a remote archaeological site into a shared cultural touchstone. This ongoing resonance demonstrates that ancient mysteries are never truly past. They live on, constantly reinterpreted, helping us to understand not only who we were, but more importantly, who we are and what we might yet become. No single scientist holds the key to this mystery. The ocean floor monument is a riddle that demands a chorus of voices, a collaboration of experts from fields that rarely speak the same language. An archaeologist might see a ceremonial platform, while a geologist sees a unique mineral composition. An astronomer looks at the sky and wonders if the straight lines point to a forgotten star. Each specialist brings a different lens, and only by combining them all can we hope to see the full picture. This is the power of an interdisciplinary approach, where the boundaries between sciences blur in pursuit of a greater truth. An astronomer, for instance, will calculate the precise position of stars and constellations thousands of years ago, searching for alignments between the monuments, radiating lines, and celestial bodies on significant dates like solstices. A materials scientist will take microscopic samples of the stone, analyzing its mineral fingerprint to trace it back to a specific quarry, perhaps on a coastline hundreds of miles away. An oceanographer studies the deep-sea currents and sediment layers, reading the environmental history written in the mud that surrounds the structure. These separate streams of data are powerful on their own, but their real magic emerges when they are integrated. Imagine the astronomer's celestial alignment perfectly matching a line that the geologist confirms is made of a stone found only in a distant mountain range. Suddenly, a story emerges of a culture that not only navigated by the stars, but also orchestrated the long-distance transport of specific, meaningful materials. This collaborative model is transforming how we investigate the deepest puzzles of our past. It breaks down the silos that once separated a marine biologist from a specialist in ancient languages, allowing for a holistic understanding that is far greater than the sum of its parts. The monument, in its silent complexity, has become a classroom for this new way of working. It teaches us that the most profound secrets are not guarded by one discipline, but are hidden in the spaces between them, waiting for a team of diverse minds to connect the dots. The same rising seas that once submerged this ancient marvel now pose a new and urgent threat. Climate change is not just a future concern, it is actively reshaping the very environment that has preserved the monument for millennia. The delicate balance of cold, dark, and high pressure that protected the site is now shifting, creating new risks that could erase this piece of our shared history before we fully understand it. One of the most significant dangers comes from the changing chemistry of the ocean itself. As the water absorbs more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, it becomes more acidic. This process, known as ocean acidification, can slowly dissolve certain types of stone, particularly limestone and other calcium-based minerals. Over decades, this chemical erosion could soften the monument's sharp geometric edges, blurring the precise lines and intricate carvings that hold the key to its purpose. It is a silent, invisible attack on the stonework, a gradual fading of the message left by its builders. Alongside acidification, climate models predict shifts in deep-sea currents. These currents, once gentle and consistent, may become more powerful or erratic as global temperatures rise. A stronger, more turbulent flow could scour the monument's surface, stripping away the protective blanket of sediment that has safeguarded it and exposing the stone to more rapid degradation. This is not a sudden catastrophe, but a slow, relentless grinding away of history. Human activity adds another layer of peril. The search for new resources is pushing industry into deeper waters, and the potential for deep-sea mining in the region is a looming shadow. The heavy machinery and sediment plumes associated with such operations could irreparably damage the monument, either through direct physical contact or by burying it under a suffocating layer of disturbed silt. The very technologies that discovered the site could be overshadowed by others that might destroy it. This convergence of natural and human threats creates a pressing timeline for researchers. There is a growing understanding that we are in a race against time to document every millimeter of the structure with the highest possible resolution. Every angle, every faint symbol, every mineral sample must be recorded now, creating a perfect digital archive for future generations who may only be able to study a weathered remnant. This urgency transforms the monument from an archaeological puzzle into a powerful symbol for a global challenge. It stands for all the countless cultural heritage sites around the world, from coastal cities to island communities, that are threatened by the changing climate. Its silent geometric forms remind us that the past is not a fixed point, but a fragile legacy that requires our active stewardship. Protecting this sunken wonder becomes a test of our ability to look beyond the present, to safeguard the mysteries of yesterday against the unprecedented changes of tomorrow. The vast ocean floor might hold more than one geometric secret. If a structure of such precision exists in one location, it is a logical and thrilling possibility that others are waiting in the abyss. Researchers have begun a global search, scanning sonar data and satellite imagery for echoes of that same mysterious signature. Off the coast of Japan, for instance, lies the Yonaguni Monument, a massive underwater formation of terraces, steps, and sharp angles that some geologists argue are natural, while others see the unmistakable hand of human design. Its stark, clean lines bear a striking, though not identical, resemblance to our primary site. In the Gulf of Cambay in India, sonar surveys have revealed what appear to be the outlines of a vast, submerged city, with geometric street grids and large structures now buried under layers of silt and time. Even in the Baltic Sea, an unusual, circular sonar anomaly sparked intense speculation, though subsequent investigations suggested a more recent geological origin. Each of these sites presents a new piece of the puzzle. Scientists compare their features meticulously. Do they share the same concentric circles, the same precise right angles and mathematical ratios, or do they represent different architectural styles, perhaps from different cultures or eras? The goal is to determine if we are looking at a single, isolated masterpiece or the scattered fragments of a much larger, global phenomenon. Finding even one confirmed analog would transform the entire mystery. It would shift the narrative from a solitary anomaly to a pattern, suggesting a culture, or multiple interconnected cultures, that routinely built these profound structures along now drowned coastlines. This global search fundamentally expands the scope of the investigation, turning a single point of light in the darkness into a potential constellation, each point a silent sentinel from a world we have only just begun to remember. Long before a research vessel ever turns on its sonar, the search begins from space. Modern satellites orbit high above the Earth, their advanced sensors scanning the ocean's surface for the faintest of whispers from the world below. They are not looking for the structures themselves, but for the subtle disturbances they create. A submerged monument alters the flow of deep-sea currents, which in turn creates a tiny, almost imperceptible ripple on the surface. Sophisticated radar altimeters can measure these minute changes in sea surface height, revealing hidden patterns that betray what lies beneath. Another powerful technique is multispectral analysis, where satellites capture light reflected from the ocean across many different wavelengths, some invisible to the human eye. This allows scientists to detect changes in watercolor and clarity caused by algal blooms that often thrive around nutrient-rich upwellings, which can be triggered by underwater structures disrupting the deep current flow. These space-based eyes offer a breathtaking advantage, the ability to survey thousands of square miles of open ocean from a desk, identifying the most promising anomalies for a costly deep-sea expedition to investigate. This method is not entirely new. Historians sometimes revisit declassified aerial photographs taken during the World Wars, searching for coastal areas captured at a moment when water levels were unusually low. In these grainy black and white images, a faint geometric shadow under shallow water, once dismissed as a trick of the light, might now be recognized as a crucial clue. The integration of this orbital data with underwater robotics is creating a powerful new formula for discovery. We are no longer searching the deep blue blindly. We are now guided by a map of hints drawn from the void, a celestial compass pointing the way to our own forgotten history. The monument's precise location was no accident of geography. For an ancient mariner, this point in the vast, trackless ocean would have been a crucial beacon. Its builders likely chose this spot with the same careful logic a modern navigator uses to plot a course, understanding the invisible pathways of the sea. They would have relied on the stars, mapping their journey by the constant, wheeling patterns of the night sky. Specific constellations rising or setting on the horizon could have signaled their approach to this waypoint, a fixed location in a world of fluid blue. But the stars were only part of the map. These seasoned sailors would have been deeply attuned to the ocean itself, reading the subtle shifts in current and swell that whispered of nearby land long before it was visible. They understood the behavior of seabirds and the patterns of migratory sea life, using them as living guides. The monument's position likely intersected with major migratory routes for fish and mammals, providing both a navigational marker and a rich hunting ground to sustain a voyage. Its strategic placement would have aligned with the great trade winds, those powerful, predictable air currents that acted as ancient highways across the open water. A vessel caught in these winds would be carried naturally toward this location, making it an inevitable confluence of maritime traffic. The geometric layout itself may have served as a giant functional instrument. Those long, radiating lines could have acted as a massive compass rose, aligned with true north or key stellar positions, allowing sailors to recalibrate their bearings after a long journey. The concentric circles might have functioned as a solar or lunar calendar. Imagine the sun rising over a specific notch in the structure on the spring equinox, or the full moon perfectly framed within a particular ring. This would have provided not just location, but critical timing for planting, ceremonies, or preparing for the next leg of a voyage. This perspective transforms the monument from an isolated temple into the heart of a living network. It was likely a place of reunion and resupply, where separate voyages converged to exchange goods, stories, and knowledge before dispersing again across the ocean. Understanding this navigational genius allows us to see the monument not as a lonely ruin, but as a central terminal in a forgotten global web, a testament to a culture that didn't just fear the sea, but mastered its rhythms and wrote their legacy upon its waters. The legend of a city claimed by the waves is a story told by the sea itself, whispered from one shore to another. From the sunken kingdom of Wise in the cold waters of Brittany to the fabled city of Dwarka off the coast of India, these tales form a chorus of shared memory. The Breton story tells of a proud city protected by a great gate, lost when a princess, deceived or defiant, unlocked it to the incoming tide. In India, ancient texts describe Dwarka as a magnificent city built by the deity Krishna, a beacon of righteousness that eventually sank into the ocean upon his departure from the world. Cultures separated by entire oceans with no conceivable contact somehow preserved remarkably similar narratives of a great and advanced society consumed by the sea. When we line these myths side by side, powerful patterns emerge. The theme of divine punishment for hubris is a common thread, where a civilization's pride or moral failings lead to its watery demise. Another recurring motif is a sudden, catastrophic event, a great flood or a single night of destruction that leaves no time for escape. These are not just stories of loss, they are cautionary tales about the fragile relationship between humanity, the divine, and the natural world. Archaeologists now carefully consider whether these pervasive myths could be a form of long-term cultural memory. They ask if the dramatic story of a city sinking in a single day might be the poetic encapsulation of a real, slower process, like the relentless sea level rise at the end of the last ice age that swallowed coastal settlements over generations. The traumatic experience of watching ancestral lands disappear beneath the waves could have been compressed into a more potent, symbolic narrative, passed down through countless generations around campfires and in sacred texts. This is where the silent geometry of the ocean floor monument becomes profoundly significant. It stands as a physical anchor for these universal stories. Its very existence suggests that the legends of Wise and Dwarka and a dozen other sunken realms might not be pure fantasy, but rather the echoed memory of a real historical event, a time when rising waters truly did claim the works of a sophisticated people. The monument bridges the gap between myth and reality, offering a tangible piece of evidence that the stories our ancestors told were not merely fables, but a way of preserving a truth too vast to be forgotten. Sound travels through water with a clarity and speed that air can never match, and the geometric layout of this monument may have been designed to harness that power. Researchers are now investigating whether this was not just a visual marvel, but an acoustic instrument, in the same way that the interior of a great cathedral can amplify a whisper into a chorus. The precise angles and concentric circles of this structure could focus and direct sound waves through the dense medium of the deep sea. The water itself, far from being a hindrance, would have acted as a perfect conductor, carrying these channeled sounds across vast distances with minimal loss. Imagine a low-frequency hum generated by a ceremonial drum or horn being captured by the outer rings of the monument. The sound waves would not simply dissipate into the void. Instead, the geometry might guide them inward, focusing the energy toward a central point or outward along specific, radiating pathways. This could have created zones of intense auditory experience, places where a single voice or note could be heard with unnatural clarity by those standing in the right location. For a ceremonial purpose, this acoustic design would be transformative. It could turn a gathering into an immersive ritual where the very architecture participated in the ceremony, making spoken words resonate with a power that felt otherworldly. The sound itself would become a physical presence, vibrating through the water and through the bodies of the participants, deepening the spiritual impact of the event. But the utility may have been profoundly practical as well. In the open ocean, before the invention of radio, communication between vessels or from shore to ship was incredibly limited. This monument could have served as a giant acoustic beacon. A sustained, low-pitched tone generated at the site could travel for dozens, perhaps even hundreds, of miles underwater, guided by deep sound channels. To a skilled mariner listening with a trained ear, this signal would have been an unmistakable landmark, a sonic lighthouse broadcasting its location through the dark waters. This was not merely about making noise, it was about encoding information. Different tones or rhythmic patterns could convey specific messages, warnings of weather, announcements of a gathering, or navigational instructions, creating a primitive but effective underwater communication network. Modern researchers are testing this theory with sophisticated computer models. They input the exact dimensions of the monument into acoustic simulation software, virtually projecting sound waves through its geometric corridors to see how they behave. Early results suggest the structure does indeed have resonant properties, favoring certain frequencies and dampening others. The next step involves physical experiments, using specialized underwater speakers and hydrophones to see if the theoretical models hold true in the actual high-pressure environment. If the monument stones were chosen for their specific sonic qualities, that would be another masterstroke of its design. The pursuit of this sonic dimension reveals a culture that thought in multiple layers of experience, for whom sight, sound, and symbol were woven together into a single, profound expression of their genius. The staggering cost of deep-sea exploration presents a formidable barrier to unlocking these submerged secrets. A single day of research vessel operation can run into tens of thousands of dollars, a figure that covers fuel for the massive ship, salaries for the specialized crew, and the immense power required to operate sonar systems and robotic submersibles. The technology itself is a major investment, with a single remotely operated vehicle representing a capital outlay of millions. These are not off-the-shelf products, but custom-built machines engineered to withstand the crushing pressures of the abyss. Each sensor and manipulator arm a masterpiece of precision engineering. This financial reality forces difficult choices. With limited budgets, how do you decide which mystery deserves a multi-million-dollar expedition? The process becomes one of strategic prioritization. Scientific committees evaluate potential sites based on a matrix of factors, including the uniqueness of the sonar data, the potential for a site to answer fundamental historical questions, and the immediate threats it might face from environmental changes or human activity. A site like the ocean floor monument, with its profound implications for human history, naturally rises to the top, but it still must compete for a slice of a very constrained budget. The funding for these ambitious ventures comes from a patchwork of sources. Governmental science foundations provide crucial grants, though these are often subject to shifting political priorities and public interest. Private institutions and wealthy philanthropists, captivated by the romance of discovery, sometimes step in to underwrite specific missions. In recent years, a powerful new force has emerged: the collective enthusiasm of the public. Crowdfunding campaigns for the monument have repeatedly surpassed their goals, demonstrating a widespread hunger to participate in this grand adventure. Thousands of individuals contribute small amounts, not for a financial return, but for the chance to be part of the story, to help buy a single day of ship time or fund the analysis of a sediment core. This public engagement is more than just money. It is a mandate, a clear signal that people care deeply about uncovering our shared past. Every dollar secured is a vote for curiosity, a commitment to sending our robotic envoys back into the darkness to continue the conversation with a world we are only just beginning to remember. This geometric puzzle from the deep is now finding its way into classrooms around the world, transforming from an archaeological mystery into a powerful educational tool. Its perfect angles and unknown origins ignite a unique spark of curiosity in students, making abstract subjects like geometry and physics feel immediate and thrilling. Teachers are crafting entire curricula around the site, using its enigmatic layout to demonstrate real-world applications of the Pythagorean theorem and the principles of underwater acoustics. Instead of just reading about archaeology, students can analyze the sonar data for themselves, learning how to distinguish natural formations from potential human-made structures. The monument becomes a case study in critical thinking where there are no easy answers in the back of the textbook. To bring the experience to life, developers have created immersive virtual reality simulations. A student can put on a headset and suddenly be floating above the sunken structure, navigating the concentric circles and long straight lines as if they were piloting their own remote-operated vehicle. They can take virtual measurements, test theories about celestial alignments, and feel the scale of the discovery without ever leaving their classroom. This hands-on exploration makes the fields of oceanography and marine archaeology tangible, showing a new generation that scientific careers can be adventures into the unknown. Educational outreach programs run by research institutions play a crucial role in this process. Scientists themselves visit schools or host live video conferences from their research vessels, sharing the latest findings directly with students and answering their unfiltered questions. This direct contact demystifies the scientific process, showing it as a dynamic, collaborative endeavor filled with debates and dead ends. It also helps combat the swirl of online misinformation by providing a reliable source, empowering young people with the analytical skills to separate evidence-based research from captivating fiction. By capturing the imagination of young minds, the monument does more than teach history. It helps build the future. The child who is fascinated by its geometric code today might be the engineer who designs the next generation of deep-sea explorers tomorrow, or the archaeologist who finally deciphers its silent message. This enduring mystery reminds us that the greatest discoveries are not just about uncovering the past, but about inspiring those who will shape the world to come. Our minds are wired for puzzles, and this ancient structure at the bottom of the sea is the ultimate challenge. It ignites a fundamental human drive, a deep-seated curiosity that compels us to explore the shadows and fill in the blanks of our own story. This is not a passive interest, it is an active cognitive engagement. When we encounter an anomaly like this geometric marvel, our brains instinctively switch into problem-solving mode. We become pattern-seeking machines, scanning the available clues, testing theories, and feeling a genuine thrill when a new piece of the puzzle seems to fit. The monument does not simply present a historical question. It invites each of us to become a detective in a mystery spanning millennia. This psychological pull is rooted in our need for meaning and coherence. A world where everything is known and catalogued can feel static, but a world with profound, unresolved mysteries feels alive with possibility. It suggests that there are still grand discoveries to be made, that the map of human history is not yet complete. This single structure, by its very existence, tells us that our conventional narrative is insufficient, and that realization is both unsettling and incredibly exciting. It taps into the same part of our psyche that has fueled explorers and adventurers for centuries, the desire to venture into the unknown and return with a story that changes everything. The enduring appeal of such enigmas explains why tales of lost cities and ancient secrets have been passed down through generations, long before we had the technology to search for them. They speak to a collective yearning, a shared part of the human experience that values the quest for knowledge as much as the knowledge itself. This deep psychological connection ensures that the silent stones on the ocean floor will continue to captivate us, not just for what they are, but for the boundless potential of what they might represent. The silent geometry of the ocean floor stands as one of history's most captivating puzzles, a testament to a forgotten chapter in human ingenuity. This journey has taken us from its astonishing discovery through sonar to the profound implications of its advanced mathematical design. We have weighed the geological debates against the echoes of ancient myths and considered everything from celestial observatories to sophisticated ports. Each perspective invites us to look deeper, to question the established narratives we have long accepted about our past. While the full truth remains shrouded in the deep, every new expedition and technological advancement brings us closer to the secrets held by those sunken stones. Let this enduring mystery inspire a greater curiosity about the hidden histories still waiting on our planet. The quest for understanding is a shared human endeavor, and your engagement helps illuminate these dark corners of our world. Thank you for joining this exploration into the unknown. We welcome your thoughts and theories in the comments.